Alright. We're taking all the best old school wisdom and blending it with the top new school methods to bring you the optimal coaching strategies. This is the 80-20 Baseball Podcast with Coach Bo.
Welcome, youth baseball community. Welcome, baseball community. Welcome, parents of youth baseball players, and to the specific group that this podcast is built for, designed for, youth baseball coaches, those of you that are in the coaching role of coaching up your players, and teams. I want to welcome everybody to this week's episode. We got a good one this week. I have confirmed an interview that I think is going to be outstanding with a good friend of mine, Lamar, who understands coaching, how to run a team, how to build a program, about as well as anybody I know. He's an athletic director, but in his past, he's refereed youth sports. He's coached a wide variety of sports. He grew up in Compton, California. He's worked with inner city kids forever. His perspective on coaching is something that I really want all of you to hear. I truly believe it'll be really beneficial for all of you. I was on the phone with him yesterday for over an hour talking about coaching, talking about players, kids, and this is somebody whose day job is to hire coaches and to oversee dozens of coaches and all the inner workings of their programs. So that's scheduled to be recorded in a few weeks. Excited for that. With this being close to the off season for baseball, coming up more on the quote unquote off season, I'm going to try to get a baseball strength and conditioning coach on sometime soon to discuss some off season strength and conditioning tips, strategies for our players. So speaking of interview, I had my brother-in-law, Coach David Pyrus, on this podcast, which I thought was one of the best interviews that we've ever had. He was on the podcast a while back, and big shout out to the North Boulder Little League 11U team. They won the state championship last night, going undefeated all the way through, outscoring their opponent 73-24. So a big shout out to Coach Pyrus and the other coaches, Coach Lauren, Coach Harry, and Elena. And a big congrats to the team, my nephew Cyrus, all of his teammates. That's awesome. The last time we had Coach Pyrus on, they won the district championship. This year, they won the district and the state championship. So maybe I can talk David into coming back on. Hands down, one of the smartest guys I know. All right, with all that good stuff said, let's dive into our top 5 coaching X posts of the month. Leading off, this one is from @Glazer Clinics, Glazier Clinics, @Glazer Clinics. They posted this quote by the late great football coach Bill Walsh. Quote, "Good talent with bad attitude equals bad talent." And this is something that I did not pay attention to early on in my coaching career. And I've done such a 180 that I wouldn't even bring a bad attitude player on the team, insofar as that I didn't feel strongly that I could correct it, coach it up, and coach it out of that player. Early on in my coaching career, I would score out dozens and dozens of players each year during tryouts, and I would just score them on talent and talent alone. And when I'm scoring out players now, I won't even score out their talent if they got a bad attitude and they're not going to be a good teammate and they're not going to be a good fit. Doesn't matter if they're a 10. And my phrase that I like to use is don't fall for the talent tease. In this quote, good talent with bad attitude equals bad talent. And worse, equals a bad team culture, which will equal an underperforming team. So great post by Glazer Clinics. Next one, this is by Melanie Red @coach_Mel_Red, REDD, from Melanie Red Performance Training. Melanie said, shout out to all the kids playing JV baseball in high school and working hard to get better to earn a varsity spot. This is actually how it works. JV is not an embarrassment. It's development. It's okay to spend a year or even 2 on JV before making a varsity team. That's a great message by Melanie, and we can also use this mindset and this message for players that might be playing at a level a little lower than we think they should be at, or maybe they have some friends playing up a level or 2 in the youth baseball arena. And this is a great message. I got scholarship offers to a lot of the big schools, a lot of big colleges, Texas, Long Beach State, Cal State Fullerton, USC, and UCLA wanted me to play both sports football and baseball. I got drafted twice by major league teams, and I played JV football my sophomore year and JV baseball my sophomore year. That's it. No varsity time at all in either sport until I was a junior. Players that might feel that they're playing at a level below where they think they should be at, whether that's JV and they think they should be on the varsity team, or whether that's 10U and they think they should be on the 11U team. Maybe they got friends that have moved up and they feel like they should be playing with them. In my opinion, it's much better to play than sit on the bench. I think it's much better to play more than to sit on the bench and play less, unless the practices are that much better for the team above you. In that case, it may be better to play less during the games, but get in all that great quality practice time. So shout out to all the kids playing JV and working hard to get better to earn a varsity spot. This is actually how it works. JV is not an embarrassment. It's development. It's okay to spend a year or two on JV before making the varsity team. Great quote by Melanie Redd, R-E-D-D on X. All right, the next X coaching post of the month in our top 5. This is by Sports Psychology at Sport Psych Tips. As a parent, instead of asking your kids if they won or lost, ask them if they gave their best effort and had fun. The questions you ask your kids help teach them what's most important. That is some gold right there. At Sport Psych Tips. As parents, instead of asking our kids if they won or lost, or how they did, which usually leads into, well, I went 2 for 4, or I pitched this many innings and gave up this many runs, or I made some errors. Instead of going down that path, ask them 2 questions. Hey, did you give your best effort? And did you have fun? And the questions you ask helps teach our kids what's most important, what's discussed most frequently, what's prioritized within our discussions with our kids and our family is inherently going to mold our kids' perception of those things being the most important. If we give it the most time, I think in most cases, our kids are going to think that it's the most important thing. If we're always talking about the score and the wins and the losses, or the batting average, or the ERA, or how many errors they made, that sends a message, even when it's not our plan or our goal, even when that's not our intent, it sends a message that those are the priorities. So, highly recommend taking this tip of asking those 2 questions to our players, our kids. Ask our kids, did you give your best effort and did you have fun? And then you can unpack each of those answers and dive into those depending on the response from our kids and players. Our 4th X post of the month in our top 5. This is from Angus Reed, R-E-I-D, at Angus Reed 64. Now this one's a little salty, but I like where Angus is coming from here. Angus said, I can't stand coaches that complain about their players' lack of talent. Do your job. Coach them up. Coach them with all you've got to help them become all they can be. That's all this will ever be about. It's all coaching should ever be about. Help them become their best. I like the message. It's direct, but hey, I think we need a little bit more of that in our world today. Maybe instead of softening the message so much, maybe we spend more time strengthening the recipients. But in any case, focusing on the level of talent that we have outside of putting the team together, tryouts, outside of that, once the team's built, that's it. Don't say anything about their lack of talent or even their abundance of talent. Just coach them up. So I thought that was a great message. All right, number 5. This one is by Trey Hannum at TJ Hannum, H-A-N-N-A-M 10. This is a message for us coaches and parents and teachers. And it's a quote from a book. I don't know what book it's from here. It's a picture of a book, a quote from a book. And here's the quote, which I think is gold. Failure isn't something we should teach children to avoid. It's an art that we should help them master. And this starts with the messaging. This starts with how we discuss failure and our messaging. Failure isn't something we should teach children to avoid. It's an art that we should help them master. That this is a specific skill that schools should also be teaching. But more importantly, just the message of failure in that we should run at it, not intentionally failing, but that we should embrace it, accept it, anticipate it, not run from it, and do whatever we can with the messaging so failure is perceived as the path to being great. It's part of the path. It's not a side path. It is the path. All right, I got a bonus post, an audio post for all of you. This is from Royce Lewis, who not that long ago, people were talking about him possibly being a bust, and this is why you can't listen to the noise and the haters. Royce Lewis, about 5 or 6 years ago, was the #1 MLB pick. When you're the number one pick, I think the expectation is that you're going to be in the big leagues in a few years. And I want to say he was 17 when he was drafted, so he was younger. And he had some injuries, had some things happen. And about 5 years in, he hadn't made it to the big leagues. And I'll tell you what, I really like this kid's attitude. And he gives his take on hitting slumps in this audio, which was posted by Do Hung Park. Do-Hyoung Park on X. And in this short audio clip, you will hear a great take, in my opinion, about hitting slumps and how Royce Lewis looks at hitting slumps differently than that of the conventional perception of hitting slumps. And I think this is something that we can play for our players. This is a perfect example of things that we can show to our players and say, hey, look, here's a major league player, Royce Lewis. Maybe show him hitting grand slams. He's already hit a good amount of grand slams in the major leagues. Maybe show him hitting those grand slams, show your player the video of him hitting, and then boom, pop this video of him on, and so they can hear it. Now I'm going to play the audio because it's of course a podcast, but you can see this video online. These short clips from the greats. This is great evidence to support what we're coaching. This is great evidence, and these are great examples. This is great evidence to help guide our players to where they want to be, to being more successful on their journey, in this case in baseball, and more specifically hitting. All right, here's the clip of Royce Lewis of the Minnesota Twins talking about hitting slumps.
I pride myself. I told Pop today, hey, I don't do that slump thing. That's not a real thing for me. I understand that that's a thing. If baseball's you're gonna go into a slump or whatever. But for me, I don't have that mindset. It's a new day. It's a new day today, and I knew there's a new pitcher. It's not the same pitchers. What am I gonna do today to win each at bat?
All right, so a great clip about I don't do slumps. That's not a real thing for me, he says. Each day is a new day. Essentially living in the moment. This is essentially being present. He's not hitting yesterday today, and he's not hitting tomorrow today. A lot of times with slumps, the mindset is, I've gone 2 for my last 20, but that's playing in the past. And you can't hit a pitch yesterday. Nobody's ever hit a pitch in today's game, in this at-bat, that was thrown last week. And a side note, Royce Lewis has had consecutive hitless games only 3 times in his career. I know he's young. It's been a short career so far, but still an impressive stat. He's played in about 100 games. He's only gone hitless in 2 consecutive games 3 times. His OPS plus is 158. So that's about 58% better than league average when it comes to getting on base and hitting the ball hard for extra base hits. 158 is a really good number. All right, let's pivot from hitting to pitching. Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan pitched his entire career throwing hard. Nolan Ryan pitched 5,386 innings. And if I'm not mistaken, he never sustained a serious arm injury until his last game. So this is definitely somebody we should listen to when it comes to advice. And he's going to talk about something that he believes helped him become a much better pitcher and stay healthier. Now, his pitching coach with the Texas Rangers was Tom House. I've studied a lot of Tom House stuff. I got certified a 4-day in-person course with Tom House and the NPA, the National Pitching Association. I really like Tom House. I don't agree with everything he says. I agree with a lot of it. I think he's not afraid to be ahead of the curve. One of the few things that I disagree with Coach House is he uses the term go freaking fast when it comes to pitching delivery. The pitching delivery, get pitchers to go fast. He wants them to go through their delivery fast. In other words, get going to home plate fast. His slogan, go freaking fast. I don't agree with this slogan. Now, I don't think pitchers should go slow on purpose, but I don't think they should rush through their delivery. There's a certain amount of things that have to happen in the kinetic chain, movements that have to happen, and every pitcher is a little different. A short pitcher can go much faster than a tall pitcher. A pitcher with a longer arm path, they have to go a little bit slower with their lower half so it syncs up with that longer arm path. Pitchers with a shorter arm path can go a little bit faster with their delivery. So there's definitely some variability there depending on the pitcher. Interestingly enough, Nolan Ryan, who gives a lot of credit to Tom House as his pitching coach, a lot of credit in his success, actually says something he did in his career that was the opposite of what Coach House teaches in Tyler Kepner's book, K, A History of Baseball in 10 Pitches. By the way, great book. I just finished reading it. It's a great book for learning about pitching, the different pitches. Just a really great book. It's well written. And in the book, Nolan Ryan mentioned that slowing down his delivery and allowing time for his arm to keep up with his lower half made everything click for him. Now, this contradicts what Tom House emphasizes on Go Freaking Fast. Now, again, I love Coach House. Huge fan of the guy. I love his attitude. Super smart guy. But this was interesting how when I read that, I thought, that doesn't sync up. But I also thought that very few pitchers I've ever come across would I ever say, hey, you got to really speed up your delivery. It's just slow-mo. It's too slow. You're not creating any momentum. You're not using your body weight that well. You're leaving a lot of power on the table and you're leaving it up to your arm to make up for a lot of it. And so here's what Nolan Ryan said. In my delivery, I was a rusher because when I got into trouble, I tried to throw harder. So what you do is develop a pattern of rushing your pitching delivery and not allowing your arm to catch up with your body. That's not how you throw harder, and that's not how you throw a sharper curveball. Nolan Ryan was essentially a fastball curveball pitcher for the majority of his career, and he talked about how he started slowing down his delivery a little. Now, it wasn't slow motion by any means. You can go look at Nolan Ryan. Of course, there are thousands of videos of him online pitching. He didn't go slow, but he slowed down his delivery enough, as he says, to allow time for his arm to keep up with his lower half, and it made everything click for him. So when you're coaching pitchers, you can see if the back arm's dragging through or has to whip through really quick at the end. If you see pitches riding hard to the arm side or getting yanked down to the glove side, those are two key indications that the pitcher's rushing their delivery. I know Nolan Ryan is just one pitcher, but he was a good one. All right, last week I mentioned that this week I would share with you the recommended ratio for Plan A and Plan 2 reps during batting practice. Go to the website 8020baseball.com if you need a refresher on Plan A and Plan 2, hitting approach, hitting plan. There's an article over there that bullet points it out. I recommend the ratio for Plan A and Plan 2 reps to be 2-to-1. So about 2/3 of the batting practice reps for our hitters should be Plan A, and about 1/3 should be Plan 2. Now, if your team's not doing great with 2 strikes, you can adjust it depending on your team's needs or your individual player need. As a coach, if you're running a batting practice and you have a couple hitters that aren't doing well with 2 strikes, you could bump up their reps. The ratio doesn't have to be a blanket ratio. So you could tell some of your players that have a bad Plan 2 approach that, hey, you're going to do 50-50, or even more, you could say, out of the 10 reps, the first 3 are going to be Plan A, and then the next 7 will be Plan 2 for you. You could tailor it that way. Say you're coaching your own kid and their Plan 2 approach is awesome, their 2-strike hitting approach is awesome, or they're having a lot more success with 2 strikes, but their Plan A, their less than 2-strike approach is not doing great. They're taking meatball pitches, they're not on time, they're chasing stuff early. Then you may want to bump it up and say, hey, we're going to go 80% Plan A and then 20% Plan 2. So you could adjust it, or you could just leave it all the same and just say, hey, 7 out of 10 or 6 out of 10 of these or 5 out of 8 of these pitches are going to be Plan A, and the last 3 will be Plan 2. You could also go back and forth, which I think is a good thing to do. You could do 3, 3, 3. I'm a big fan of a round, for example, that has 9 pitches. The first 4 are Plan A, less than 2 strikes. The next 2 are Plan 2, 2-strike approach, and then back to Plan A for the next 2 and finish with 1 Plan 2 pitch. So 4, 2, 2, 1. This keeps the ratio at 6-3. It keeps that 2-to-1 ratio. It bounces them back and forth a little bit, because that's what's going to happen in a game. Our hitters have to be able to transition from Plan A, less than 2 strikes, to Plan 2 in 1 pitch, if and when it gets there. All right, I would set the default ratio, Plan A to Plan 2, hitting ratio in batting practice 2-to-1, and adjust it from there, scale it from there if the hitters need more work or if that hitter needs more work one way or the other. Now we'll finish up with this. There was a video that I saw of a 10U baseball game, and I don't know the teams, I don't even know where it was, but there was a pitch that bounced, a little funky, had a high bounce to it, and the catcher, mind you, is a 10-year-old. It looked like the catcher tried their best to block it, but it went over their shoulder and hit the umpire. And the umpire got upset at the kid, the catcher, for not blocking it. And then the catcher's coach, the kid's coach, comes out with a real intense approach and essentially starts yelling at the umpire, gets in the umpire's face, turns up the volume, and is real intense with the approach. Now, a couple things here. Of course, the umpire shouldn't get upset at a 10-year-old for not blocking a pitch. This clearly wasn't the catcher diving out of the way intentionally so the umpire could get hit. If that happens, in my opinion, whoever's part of it should be kicked out. And if it's a coach, they shouldn't be allowed to coach. I saw a video of that recently where a coach went out and told his pitcher and catcher to sync up and let the pitch go on purpose and hit the umpire. That to me should just get you banned from coaching. And the players kicked out for that game at least, if not more. But this was clearly a 10-year-old that just was trying to block a tough pitch, and he's not Pudge Rodriguez. And it bounced over his shoulder, and the umpire got hit. The umpire got mad. Now, the umpire needs to keep his cool. I know sometimes when you get smoked by a pitch, whenever we stub our toe, we get a little upset. The pain increases that likelihood of anger. I get it. I totally understand where the umpire is coming from. I think the umpire needs to come into the game a little more prepared for something like this, a little more prepared for a 10-year-old messing up, making a mistake, and not expect them to be a Gold Glove, not expect them to be Ivan Rodriguez with Gold Glove catching skills. Now, for coaches, I think the coach was 100% correct in standing up for his players. I just think the coach could have approached the conversation with the umpire more calmly in order to achieve his goal of getting the umpire to clearly see his mistake. So as a coach, what's the goal? Is the goal to chastise the umpire, make him look bad, yell at him? Is our goal to make a scene? Or is our goal to get that umpire moving forward to lower the expectations for a 10-year-old catcher, 1. 2, if there is an issue, to come to the coach and talk to the coach first, maybe not directly communicate with the player if in fact it's something that's causing a little anger. But when the coach went out there with the intensity that they went out there with, it escalated it. It turned into a shoving match. The umpire got pushed back, bonked his head on the dirt. It was a terrible scene for a 10-year-old baseball game. These are things that should absolutely not exist. And from the coach's standpoint, I think they could achieve their goal without escalating the situation. When the coach jogged out there and starts getting in the umpire's face with the intensity that the coach had, it escalated things. I've had this situation happen to me as a coach, and you'd be shocked what you can achieve and how you can change an umpire's mind, at least their mindset, moving forward. So the next time that happens, there's change. They've improved. That's the goal, right? Basically, the coach wants the umpire not to yell at the player and not to expect Gold Glove Major League catching skills from a 10-year-old catcher. Okay, great. Now going out there and getting in their face, escalating the situation with an intense dialogue isn't going to get us to our goal. The coach should have walked out there calmly. The umpire wasn't in the catcher's face. The umpire wasn't going after the catcher. So there was no immediate or urgent threat. Okay, if there is, then you got to get out there. You got to get between and you got to handle that a little different, but that's usually not happening. And in this case, it didn't happen. The coach should have walked out there calmly, took a deep breath to relax himself because the coach is now upset, and rightfully so. I think the coach had the right to be upset. I just think they should have handled it differently. I think the coach should have been firm with the message, but calm with the tone. A calm but firm tone. Something like this. Call the umpire by first name. Say, hey, Chuck, he's a 10-year-old catcher. He's not a major league catcher. He's a 10-year-old. That was a tough bounce. Your expectation for him to block that is unrealistic. I'm sure it didn't feel good getting hit by that pitch. I get it. But this is 10-year-old baseball. These are kids. There's going to be bad bounces. You need to come out to these games knowing that you might accidentally get hit by a pitch or by a bat on accident. But you have to give these kids the benefit of the doubt that there's not malintent. They're 10-year-olds, and you're coming out, you're expecting them to be major league players with their blocking skills. It's not going to happen. Now, I would say this in a firm but calm tone, and I would say it so the umpire could hear it, not the crowd, as to not put the umpire on blast, so to avoid putting him in a defensive mode, which isn't going to help get us to our goal of him, the umpire, changing his perception, his expectations of 10-year-old baseball players. In this case, catchers blocking the ball. I would face the infield. I would turn towards the infield. I wouldn't get right up in his face. I would turn towards the infield. So you're kind of shoulder to shoulder. I would talk in a firm but tone voice with the goal of getting him to have a better understanding of the level of baseball he's umpiring for, to rewire his mindset, to have much lower expectations for the skill level of these players. And then I would say, next time something like that happens, if you do have an issue, please come to me first. All right, we'll talk to each other as adults. Let's not go right to the 10-year-old. Come to me, we'll talk it over. I definitely understand getting smoked by a pitch doesn't feel good. And then throw in, hey, you've always been a great umpire. We've always appreciated having you. We're thankful for what you're doing. You're a big part of the game. But with that said, you got to lower your expectations for 10-year-olds. They're unrealistic. It's not fair to them. And if there is an issue, please come to me first. We'll talk about it. I like you, Chuck. You've always been a good umpire. But let's just keep the mindset that these kids are not trying to hurt you or hurt anybody out on purpose, and then work from there. So that's kind of an example of how I would handle it. You got to get a lot across and you don't want to stall the game a lot. I think that could be shared. That message could be shared in less than a minute. And I think it's going to get you a lot closer to the goal of changing the umpire's mindset and their behavior moving forward. All right, that's going to wrap up this week's episode. It's always great being here with all of you. We got a good episode planned for next week. So be ready next Tuesday for another episode to come out. Each week coming out with an episode that can continue to build up our coaching mindset so we can go from new coach to good coach and from good coaches to great coaches. In the meantime, let's take care of ourselves and our health so we can be at our best for our families, our close friends, and for our teams and players. Let's take the information from this episode out there and let's put it into play. All right, everyone, you take care. And until next week, adios.
This has been the 80-20 Baseball Masterclass. Take it to the field.